Well, there's always room for improvement. That's why I am now try to re-editing one of my old film that presents the PV diamonds. Okay, this is a presentation of the PV diamond stones technology and how much better it is than solar cell. It's also a presentation of the technology in 5 dimensions. As a template for this video, I have using an old video of mine where I maybe have made some mistakes and so on. I will address that in comments and so on. In my old video, I'm not explaining my technology as a 5D technology, and I also have another name for my technology. At that time I was calling it daylight utility stones. What is the right name? I still don't know. This video is about a topic that is very important to me. On a day like this, these solar panels are producing 10 watts of energy each. But the real potential of a sky like this is actually that the solar panels should produce about 70 to 80 watt. The first topic is about what is the world's need for my technology.
This technology is about going from sunshine to daylight in energy from photovoltaic renewable power.
The graphics I'm trying to show here is how much more reliable and stable power output you can get from converting from sunlight into daylight. This is a cold February morning. The sun is up in about 5 minutes, but you can see there's still a lot of light here in the city of Vedbæk. Look at the light. When you're using silicon as a source for collecting electricity from photoelectric effect, there should be plenty of opportunity to creating electricity on a morning like this. As I was recording there, I had been checking the output of a whole solar panel array systems with combining of 30 to 50 square meters of solar cells combined in a system, and the average output there is around 7 to 0 watt for the whole system, so almost nothing. But that's not the case with solar cells, because they are made in the wrong way.
It is essential to move to a world that doesn't use fossil fuel at all. So, if we look at energy situation in February 2023 in Denmark, we can see that there is big holes where renewable energy is insufficient. Notice that a big part of the renewable energy comes from biofuel, which are produced by using fossil fuel. More of this in another video.
This is the whole technique about storage energy and having energy backup.
February is only the 4th darkest month of the year, so in a world that doesn't run on fossil fuel, the Danish civilization should be able to powered by energy that comes directly from nature. Today the options are solar or wind power. To expand with wind power is a little bit complicated because there already are good amount of windmills in Denmark on land, and setting up new windmills I'm hit with massive protesters. The Danish population is basically okay with windmills as long as it's long way from where they live. Expanding which offshore windmills is a possibility, but it is expensive and requires a lot of time to establish.
Since I was recording that video, the situation about putting up new windmills in Denmark has gotten a whole lot worse. They're getting almost no land-based windmill up today in Denmark.
There is around 7,000 acres installed solar cells in Denmark, including what is placed on buildings. And this is clearly not enough to run the civilization.
Well, this is the whole part about energy that you do not take in account of 5 dimensions of energy. You have to account for 5 dimensions, otherwise you have this big fluctuations of that. I try to address this in the video. I don't think I succeed so much.
There is also some protesters against solar farms, but they are significant minor compared to windmills.
Yeah, in 2 years time that also have changed. Now there's big protest against solar farms.
By minimizing food production is not unrealistic that the amount of solar farm in a few years can be increased to 20,000 acres, but that will clearly not be enough.
Well, this is one of the key elements that is very hard to include new land to making energy and so on, and land is a scarce resources. This is the reason why you really need to use the land you already have. Again, this is 5-dimensional thinking.
With the introduction of daylight utility stones, is it possible to make a totally change of game? Daylight utility stones are far less dependent on pointing towards the sun and can be placed on infrastructure and will produce an okay amount of power as long as that surface is exposed to daylight.
There are a lot of advantages by placing rooftop over infrastructure. You will have a far less maintenance on roads and power cables, and it will also be much more safer to drive bicycles in the wintertime.
By optimizing some infrastructure, by placing a daylight utility stones rooftop on it, will it easily be possible to integrate 18,000 acres off daylight utility stones into the Danish energy grid?
Yeah, there are also some disadvantages by creating a structure on top of another structure and so on. Again, in reality, things are a little more complex and so on. I know that, but it's hard to get everything into a video. I have done some calculations. What it will mean to have 18,000 of acres into the Danish grid system. And as you see, it almost means that we can be self-supplying with renewable energy here in February month, and it can be self-supplied about the 9th and so on, even if it's grey weather and the sun doesn't shine. Yeah, again, this is so important with my technology, I think. Is this reliable in what is the German called Dunkelflaute? Reliable energy in hard times is better than a lot of energy in good times. I have done the calculations in a form that it's grey weather, it's the average weather where the sun doesn't shine. So if there comes a situation with thunderclouds, snow weather and very bad weather, that will change the game and cannot be reliable on renewable energy from daylight utility stones. But that's where we have the biofuel. Yeah, this is basically again about having many or more reliable sources for energy and so on. So if one set out, you can apply to the other one. Again, 5D technology thinking and so on for backup. Yeah, this in this part of the movie I try to explain that solar cells are the more advanced solutions for photovoltaic output, and my inventions is more simple and more dumb, basically primitive, dumb, and a little bit brutal. All this special advancement and new fancy technology of solar cells makes it almost impossible to get the right amount of output of it. The second part is about why this invention is so much better than solar cells. When you look at solar cells in grey weather, it's very clear what is the problem. They have almost a perfect reflection of the sky in them. That means all that has been reflected will not be turned into energy. Each time our solar cell doesn't have this direct angle of incidence, the effect gets lower. The efficiency from solar cells in grey weather is kind of bad because the radiation comes from the whole sky. When they are turning towards the sun, they actually have a pretty good efficiency.
This constant shift between good and bad performance makes it very difficult to build a civilization. It will be much easier to have a stable renewable energy source that can deliver a big amount of energy directly from nature. The daylight utility stones can be that essential energy source. Solar cells are normally made with a silver contact system on the top of the cell. They remove electrons from the silicon and a contact system on the backside. They are adding electrons through the silicon. This construction gives the surface of a solar cell many tasks to perform.
Yeah, what I was trying to explain with these graphics, creating electricity, some of it will get lost on the surface because the surface is not good enough. By using diamonds, you are making a very good surface. I will explain that later on in the video.
All these many tasks make it technically impossible to make a good surface. The daylight utility stone has its contact on the backside, which gives the possibility to make a much better surface that only shall do two things: capture the light into the silicon and shield the surface. The perfect surface solution for silicon there is used to make photovoltaic effect from daylight is a diamond surface. A diamond surface will capture almost all light into the silicon, also from a crooked angles. Another advantage with a diamond surface is that it keeps the created electricity inside the silicone. This will have a very positive effect on the efficiency.
It's very rare you come into something perfect, but I do think that the solution between silicon and carbon in this diamond structure is the perfect, and this is why I also have changed the name to PV-Diamonds, because this is all about diamond structure basically. Silicon is diamond, carbon is diamond. Perfect solution. Very rare when you're making technology. It's very rare you come into something perfect, but I do think that the solution between silicon and carbon in this diamond structure is the perfect, and this is why I also have changed the name to PV-Diamonds, because this is all about diamond structure basically. Silicon is diamond, carbon is diamond. Perfect solution. very aware when you're making technology. The third part will be about how cheap it is to be manufacturing. Yeah, cheap to produce in big scale, because everything is a little bit different. When I'm recording this video, I am not using any kind of standard material, which is making so goddamn hard to prove my technology, because getting these weird materials is hard and difficult and so on.
The daylight utility stones is based on photovoltaics and silicon. Therefore, is silicon the central element in the manufacturing process. So it all started with a silicon wafer. Opposite solar cells, there are based on polished silicon, are daylight utility stones based on unpolished silicon, which lowers the cost significant. The most significant game-changing effects is the diamond surface. This is created from methane gas, where the hydrogen is stripped off and a carbon atom connects to the silicon. This process is very similar.
Yeah, what I'm doing here, which is maybe a very bad decision to do, is I'm describing to how you are producing these PV diamond stones and so on. I choose to be comfortable about it because there is some small details which I cannot describe in this video and so on. And if you don't get these details right, you don't get the right result and so on. So a very smart engineer and so on can easily copy my technology. That is one of the main issue and so on. But I think it will be a good idea to have my knowledge present when you are starting producing this. You have to get to market very fast and start producing the element and so on, because a lot of people can copy the technology when it's first the cat is out of the bags and so on. Doing things the right way makes it very easy.
To a galvanic process and are making use of an electric current to connect the carbon atom on the silicon.
Creating solid diamond from methane gas is something that happens a lot all over the universe. But one element that makes it very difficult is the presence of oxygen. Creating diamond has become so cheap that diamond mine has closed all over the world. Yeah, here I think this is one of the reasons why you haven't seen this technology, is because rich people do not like it, because they have these well, you have told the whole world that diamond is this very precious and unique material, that you need that for jewelry and so on if you get married and so on. But basically diamonds are very common in the universe in this. But diamond is a perfect material. It's just not that exclusive. With the daylight utility stones, you have the advantage that you are laying a diamond surface on a silicon surface, and silicon actually has a diamond structure, and that make it far more easier. But making diamond on a diamond surface should be easy, and it is easy to make. I am very sure of it. Not 100% sure, but more than 98% sure of it. When you are building up material atom by atom, they will be in the crystallized form as the bulk material you are laying the material on, and that make it a little bit hard normally to make diamond surface because there's not so many diamond structure material. Silicon is exception, so that makes the process far cheaper to manufacture because they are fitting together. That's also why it's such a perfect surface to silicon.
On the backside creates a negative and a positive electric contact systems. They are isolating from each other by using a mold of sands. The process is very similar to baking. Everything is created by heating up from the silicon side. After heating, is it also cooled from the silicon side and pressure from the top. These three simple steps create a whole series of processes, which creating the backside of the daylight utility stone in one operation.
Yeah, again, maybe it was a bad idea to basically tell the whole world how to produce the invention and so on. I guess that's a fault with me. Wants to save the world, not just being very rich and so on. But then again, the devil's in the detail. I cannot get all details in it.
The negative charged contact system is created by using aluminum placed in the sand mold. The heating makes the aluminum melt and a small amount of it will start to fuse into the silicon. The aluminum melt will also dissolve a little my amount of the silicon wafer, but that is not much and the results is more like a polishing process. Because the aluminum melt is cooled from the silicon side, will the electric conductivity of the aluminum still be high?
Well, here are getting very technical and so on about the physics of it. And I do that because I have, of course, talked to all these solar cells experts and so on, professors and so on, which I, at the time I asked them, had very high regards of it. And they like doing like this. Oh no, you are dyslexic, so you're a bad person. You don't know anything about it. This is not how it works. You haven't understand a thing about it. We know it so much. We are so smart. We can use billions of euros every year of getting no result and so on. But we have smart articles and so on in the university. Fucking hate them. And what they have been talking about in the technical specifics, I have showed for years and years. They have just been so full of shit. Pardon my French. I mean, I should have made this technology almost 20 years ago. But the so-called elite, technical, high-minded of the university world has just been shitting on me because I have problems spelling.
The positive charged contact system is created in holes. In this holes there is placed phosphorus pentoxide powder. This will turn into gas when it's heated. The oxygen start reacting with the aluminum and the silicon. This release the phosphor there can diffuse into the silicon. Even though the temperature of the silicon is 300 degrees over the melting point of aluminum, will the top layer of the aluminum not fall down in the hole, because it's very hard to heat up aluminum with radiation heat, and the creative aluminum oxide layer will also stabilize the top layer. At the end of the operation, will the top layer be pushed down in the hole? The building up layer of silicon oxide prevent the aluminum from diffusing into the silicon. The hot aluminum will make the silicon oxide quick and creating a material. There are known to have a very high electrical conductivity.
Yeah, there's two processes in the manufacture and so on. but it could maybe be an advantage by splitting up these processes, so you have like a pre-processing thing, so it's better to automatic things and so on, the technology and so on. I think it's very easy to establish these small production details in a pre-product where you assemble the whole technology and so on, and get the data of all the production data of how to handle them production wise, with the goal of making production very cheap and very fast, quick, so you can start mass production from maybe not from day one, but from week one, when you have just make the broader introduction for the inventions. This is the reason why I'm seeking big companies like car companies and so on to linger it up, because the speedy production is the key for getting some years of commercial head start in compared to others technology and so on. Like to people copying the technology. When the genie is out of the bottle, everybody will do this, I think. Of course, I am the inventor and so on.
A little bit of metallic calcium turns the sand mode into a stone-like material, doing the heating process. It is also metallic calcium there are creating a solid interface between silicon and the now created stone material. Basically, the production involves a lot of technical processes, but everything is done in 2 operations. They handle all the processes.
Yeah, there's 2 processes in the manufacturing and so on, but it could maybe be an advantage by splitting up these processes, so you have like a pre-processing thing. So
the final product is a stone material with a diamond surface and 2 electric contact systems in the back.
Yeah, again, maybe this is stupid to give away the whole PV diamond contact patterns, which I have used so much time and energy to design. Just give it away for nothing on a stupid YouTube video. But I have done this, and the video has been seen about 500 times and so on. So people have seen the video and so on. So it can be easily copied. It's out there. The genie is out of the bottle. So this is the reality of the technology. So basically the whole manufacturing is a combination of small elements, small simple elements that are working together in a bigger context. When you're doing the production like this, it's very important to have the detail right. The 4th part of the video is about answering some of the criticism I have been having for this product. Yeah, here I come again, start whining about my life and so on, which I should not done this. I have done this in my comment place and so on. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. Everybody agree. Yeah, when I was making that video, Taylor Swift has just released Anti-Hero, where I kind of get inspired by the lines I'm using there. Eller inspired, basically stole the whole line from the song and so on. So haven't asked for copyright. When you are developing the future technology, it's very important that using people that are very bright and intelligent. So when you're working with this new photoelectric effect, it's very important that you are keeping up with the latest fashion. Like silicon, that's yesterday's. We have moved so much past it. By the way, the Earth cluster is almost 28% silicon, so we really shall not use that material because that can actually solve the problem by the energy crisis. Yeah, here again I'm whining and whining and whining, but I just get so fucking angry when people say that I'm stupid and so on. Yes, I am kind of stupid. But when it comes to putting technology together and so on, I am way smarter than the average person to do that. So I'm not welcome in the club of the smart and intelligent people, because in Calgary as a dumbass, I guess. The daylight utility stones give the opportunity to create a society that is not independent of fossil fuels. Yeah, here I was again trying to get the impression that I was this smart CEO guy for my whole adventure and so on. I do know I will never be that guy. I need somebody else to be that guy. This was the reason why I was filming myself in this blazer jacket and so on. Here is 3 examples of how this specific can be done.
Part 5. Examples of practical independence. With daylight utility stones. The daylight utility stones give the opportunity to start the independence off fossil fuel. First example, independence in a normal household. An average household are using between 15,000 to 22,000 kilowatt hours annually, but in the most case will it be possible to reduce that to 12,000 kilowatt hours. If the whole roof is covered in daylight utility stones, will the house produce 28,000 to 40,000 kilowatt hours annually when there is daylight?
Yeah, after I made this video I have done some more calculation. This is basically what I do, doing calculation over and over and again, so on. And my new data shows actually a more positive view. It's more positive than what I described in this video and so on.
But the house is using the most energy when there is no daylight. Like in the winter where the amount of daylight is very limited. Therefore, is there a need for energy storage? Because it takes energy to storage energy, will the house need around 18,000 kilowatts in reality, if it shall be independent?
Here again I'm explaining 5D technology.
This means that the house now can be an energy provider instead of our energy user for the civilization.
Here again I'm talking about this zero grid emission from household and so on. People buzz and still are talking a lot about it. I can't remember if it's zero grid and so on. It's something similar to that. Basically it doesn't make so much sense if you are thinking in 5-dimensional, because it just doesn't.
Second example, more direct energy into cars.
Yeah, again, this is the reason why I think it should be so interesting for car companies to join up with me.
Cars and trucks are runs on energy there has been storage.
Yeah, when I was recording this, the Cybertruck was the big wonder. Now we know different.
In a world that run on 100% renewable energy, does that mean that they are running with about 40% efficiency? because it costs energy to storage energy. This is why it's such a good idea to connect renewable energy directly into cars and trucks. This obvious good idea has a long history going back to 1955, but has not been a success. The reason for this is that the solar cells has a poorly performance on a car, because the main light that hit them are diffused light and come from a crooked angle. The daylight utility stones can change the game on this practice. A BMW 3 hybrid car, a good but normal car. Putting daylight utility stones on the top surface gives the car direct energy from daylight.
I think it's very impressive numbers I have been calculating here for the BMW. What I haven't taken into account is the weight of the PV diamonds.
This gives free kilometers every day and means that the car will refuel about 30% less. The example is calculated for a car in Central Europe and assume that it is placed 30% in shade. The third example, making steel with renewable energy. The green transition is basically a joke if it cannot provide energy to the foundation of civilization, and steel is central element for civilization on Earth. Once Denmark made steel from scrap metal in the city of Frederiksberg. Now they're hot-stove casting steel and are only rolling steel in Frederiksberg.
Yeah, I have also tried to address the steel industry and so on.
This is due to political pressure, because so-called green politician wants to lower consumption of fossil fuel locally in Denmark. But of course, this has raised totally global consumption of fossil fuel and have made it more difficult to recycling steel and iron in Denmark. If the casting of steel shall restart with renewable energy, it will require stable supply of 650 megawatts.
All this, again, I have made that to describe because a lot of people, when I'm recording this again, is say that creating steel and so on with renewable energy is impossible. Have to keep on burning fossil fuel. And if that statement stay through, our whole civilization is doomed. So I will not accept it, and I do have the solution for it and so on with 5-dimension thinking.
If 80% of the year-round house and 70% of the summer houses choose to be an energy independent with daylight utility stones, they can contribute good in summer season. But 650 megawatts is a lot of power, so it will also be necessary to build infrastructure that are covered with daylight utility stones.
Yeah, again, this is all about 5D technology thinking.
Maybe it will be a good idea to have all year, all-weather cycling roads also covered with daylight utility stones. This will also have a good potential to save some fuel for transport. If 8% of the area around Frederiksberg is used to harvest energy from daylight, will it be possible to get independent of fossil fuel and cast steel from the 15 March to October 1st?
The editing part I have saved for this video, it's right here. It is a little bit confusing, but the whole concept I was trying to explain at the end of it was that it is possible to make steel with renewable energy. Have to think in 5 dimensions so on. Of course, there's more things to it, and it's will be a good advantage to have this whole network processing and so on, That's technology I have been working with since I've recorded the first video here, but that's a whole different area and so on. Again, here will be very nice to dance with the car industry. So hope you will make a like on the video and try to spread it and so on. Maybe share it to somebody that can get the music rolling.